6-year-old Noah Posner was killed by the Sandy Hook shooter, but his family became a victim of Alex Jones.
My wife at the time, Noah's mother, did a few interviews, and she became a target. He accused her of being an actor.
I'm grieving, that's all.
That became one of the cornerstone conspiracy points for Sandy Hook.
The whole thing was fake. I mean, even I couldn't believe it. I knew they jumped on it, used the crisis, hyped it up, but then I did deep research, and my gosh, it just pretty much didn't happen.
As Jones added fuel to the fire,
We've sent reporters up there, man, and that place is like Children of the Corn or something. I mean,
online conspiracy theorists were attacking the families.
From then on, it was an absolute quest to destroy these parents.
What a loser. Crisis actor trash. Oh, Lenny, you poser. Take your life.
It spread on the web, YouTube, Reddit, and 4chan.
What kind of name is Noah Posner to a kibbutz?
They're haters, they're fools, they're trolls. Anything they can do to trigger trouble in my life, they have done.
Posner changed addresses many times, tried to hide his identity. Still, they found him.
I got a call from someone, and I had just moved into a new apartment. He read me the address that I had just moved into, and he read me my social security number.
Well, hello, Starfish.
Hello, Mary.
How are you
Contrary.
doing today?
I am great. It's a beautiful
I
day
know
in
it's
the
a
neighborhood.
lovely fall feel that I'm getting now. So, well, I have a good story today, and this one is just about one of our favorite conspiracy theorists.
Can't wait.
I'm sure most people know who this person is because he's been doing this for like over 20 years now.
Oh, at least. Yeah.
So we're going to talk today about Alexander Emmerich Jones.
Wow, I didn't know that
Yeah.
was his name. Alexander Emmerich. Alex Jones of InfoWars.
Yeah.
Okay. This
This
a
is
fun
a
one.
good one. So it's also shitty, but we'll get into that. So what we're talking about today is 26 children and 6 adults were shot dead at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut in 2012. We're almost on 10 years of that, which is crazy because it feels like it was just yesterday.
Right.
So Mr. Jones claimed that the event had been made up by supporters of gun controls and the mainstream media. Yeah. So Alex Jones, well, let's just go into, a little background on this guy. He was born February 11th, 1974. So he's only 8 years older than us. He looks a lot older than that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It's all the anger. It's all the talk.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, this guy, if you're a conspiracy theorist, it's like you spend all day worrying about what other people are doing to the rest of the world. I feel like that could put you in a place of stress.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what, or it could be the fact that he has multiple lawsuits pending or executed against him at this point. So, you just got to be really careful with conspiracy theories. If you're going to be touting stuff like that, you better have some really good research and some backup for stuff like that. Or let people know that it's a conspiracy theory and could possibly not be true.
He says he does, but I've heard him. And
Yeah,
he
you're
doesn't.
probably more familiar with him than I am. I come across these people all the time, so most of them are similar in how they act and react to things. So
I'm utterly fascinated with him. So yeah, I've seen a lot of documentaries on him, although I have a really hard time listening to his show because it's ridiculous and hard for me to listen to because he's just screaming the whole time. A lot of it. He's a very angry person.
So it's kind of like a platform for him to let out all of his anger. You would think he would be a better person after letting all that anger out on his show. So, I was trying to do a little bit of research on him because, he's been around for quite some time. I think since the 1990s, he's been doing all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, he was an old radio show host.
Yeah, in the late 90s.
Or TV show host in Texas or something.
Yeah, he's out of Austin, Texas. So he built a pretty large audience. And he's very much of, like, I would say the far right conspiracy theorist.
Believing and talking about a lot of the conspiracies we talk on here, just basically anything that's conspiratorial, he just latches onto it.
Yeah.
The lizard people is one of his big ones.
Yeah, he's definitely like one of the ones that talks about what we've done some shows on, actually, is the First World Order or New Order or whatever that is. Remember that one? And then the Cabal. He thinks that Hillary Clinton is a lizard people. Yeah, so...
He talks about the globalists all the time. He says the globalists aren't the government. The globalists are the globalists. Right. These people, this elite group of people.
Right. Yeah. So, in and of itself, I mean, that's kind of a crazy theory anyway. But I think a lot of people have gotten sucked into that because during COVID and like some of the things, the election and like the Trump era, I think a lot of people were looking for answers to all the chaos that was going on around them. And so people like Alex Jones, a lot of people started listening to them, unfortunately, because they're being stuck at home or not working, you know, depending on what job they had. So I think he was able to grow more. He actually started his whole empire by selling, like he basically had subscription video, DVDs, t-shirt sales. He was doing as much as like $10 million a year between subscriptions, web and radio advertising and sales. And I think he also sold like, you know, the supplements, dietary supplements. He did that.
Youngevity.
Oh, yeah.
That's the name of it.
Youngevity?
Yeah, it's like just straight vitamins. I've taken them.
Really?
They made me throw up.
You actually tried Alex Jones vitamins, Starfish?
This is before I knew who Alex Jones was. This is before I knew who he was and that he was associated with them.
Oh, God.
And a person in my family friends was like, hey, because I wasn't feeling well or something. Hey, you should try these. They make you feel much better. And had them right there. It was like an emergency. That's what it looked like a little pack of emergency. And this person had been taking them. And so I was like, I looked at the back. You can see all the things in it. It's just like a multivitamin. It's really not. But it's not FDA approved because, of course, the FDA is evil too. So, you know, who cares if it's not FDA approved for them? For me, it was important, but I was like, I'll try this anyway, and I threw up. It was like, I think I just had an empty stomach. I'm not saying this stuff is garbage, although I wouldn't doubt if it is. But anyway, I have taken Alex Jones's products.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So, something I would have never guessed, but
I know.
Yeah, so I guess this whole thing started with Sandy Hook, though, getting back to the story. In April of 2017, he put a video up titled Sandy Hook Vampires Exposed, and he insinuated that it looks like this lady, Miss De La Rosa, I think it was one of her kids. I can't remember if she was a teacher or one of the kids' parents, but he was claiming that she was an actor in the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so totally disgusting. And honestly, these victims of the Sandy Hook massacre, because of people like Alex Jones that are touting it as a conspiracy theory, which I am completely like beside myself as to how all these politicians even and people can believe that these school shootings or any of these shootings are conspiracy theories. Like that is some crazy bullshit is what it is. It's just bullshit. And, you know, it's like, if you've ever lost someone like that, I mean, I can't imagine the pain that you go through when you lose someone in a tragic situation like that all of a sudden out of nowhere. Especially children. This is probably like the worst shooting we've ever had, you know, like with all the little kids we're talking about. Like it's horrendously horrible. And so I can't imagine like the family members when they hear someone like this asshole on his talk show or whatever talking about how this is a fake conspiracy theory and all these people that were in it are crisis actors, is how he put it. Right. Like that to me is like just totally awful and disgusting. And so it looks like the family members are seeking about $1 million in damages, which I don't blame them. If I had someone like that, and I think they warned him too. So it's not like he wasn't warned like by them, hey, can you please take this off? Like this is really damaging to us. Because, you know, these poor victims are getting death threats from people saying that, like, you faked this whole thing and now I can't buy a gun. You know, you have all these crazy right-wing people that listen to people like this, and now they're going after all these poor people that lost their children in this shooting, or their family member, you know, the teachers. So for me, it's like just the lowest of the low. such a low level thing to do, in my opinion. You know, just it doesn't get much worse than that for something like this.
Yeah. I don't know how, if you were going to talk about the specific lady. So she was listening to him, and like they gave out their addresses.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, this is the name of the guy who, one of them was a famous one. His name is Lenny Posner, I think, or Posner. And they were like, that name sounds fake. That's a fake name. So they went and found his address and looked him up and gave it out on the air and like were spreading it around. And then some lady called and started giving him death threats. She's in jail now, but that's what keeps happening, is that the story keeps getting re-upped. I mean, even us doing it, we'll re-up it. We'll make people look back into it again. Right. We'll make people think that Lenny Ponzer is fake. They will threaten him again. He can't even go out in public anymore. You know, like he did a TV interview where he did full makeup so that nobody could see what he looked like. That's awful. And it's so bad. And you know what the most ironic part is? That Lenny Ponzer was a fan of Alex Jones when this happened. He used to listen to him. He's like, I probably listened to him the day before this all happened. I listened to him, you know, all the time. And then to hear the person you listen to calling you and your family and the people who have been killed around you a crisis actor, was like, wait a minute. You're calling me one now. And that's not possible because I know I'm not one. So has everything you've ever said been bull? Your questioning is, are you not really good at actual researching? You know, which Alex is not good at researching. Right. I have listened to him a lot, and he cherry picks, and he finds things that look like a crisis when there's not one. Right. Anyway, there's a lot to this. There's a lot to him, and there's a lot why he believes this. So I don't know if you wanted to keep talking.
I mean, there's just, unfortunately, there's just so much. I mean, we could probably spend, you know, we could probably do even more shows just about him alone, you know, just like what he does. But I mean, even like in court on some of these lawsuits that have come about, they don't have any information from him. You know, like he's not given the court any information.
Yeah, I watched, he had like a 2-hour deposition. I watched all 2 hours of it. And basically he just keeps saying, I don't remember saying that. It looks like you edited the video. I didn't say or do any of that. And you guys keep misrepresenting me, blah, blah, blah. Then he went on Joe Rogan. And I really like Joe Rogan. Well, I used to before. Well, that's a whole other story. But he went on Joe Rogan. They're friends. They're longtime friends, actually. I did not know that. And they love talking about aliens, because that's why Joe Rogan kind of became popular, is because he was willing to talk about aliens. Anyway, so he's asking Alex Jones, like, why do you do this? What is wrong with you? Alex Jones says, I think I may actually have a neurological problem. And the reason is because when he was younger and watching Waco, remember Waco? Oh, yeah. The whole showdown with Waco, and how he perceived that whole thing to be what he calls now false flag operation. Basically, the whole thing was staged just to get David Koresh to come out of the
compound.
Of his compound, right? He said after that, he started seeing every single thing as staged because he just didn't believe the media anymore. So he acknowledges that he has like a disorder where he can't stop seeing everything.
But I kind of realized a few years ago that I kind of had my own mild psychosis, in that when you've been lied to by the media and the culture so much over and over again, everything then starts becoming automatically, you're sure it's fake. And then everything you see fits into that. This is probably, again, 4 or 5 years ago, I began to realize, because I was on the receiving end of people pulling up in white vans with guns at my office saying, I know you put a microchip in my head and I'm going to kill you. And so it was kind of like, once I got super famous, it was like, whoa, there's a certain percentage of people that are way off on the spectrum where they believe everything's fake. And then there's people that believe everything they hear is true. I mean, you should be questioning, you should have the right to do it, but it's somewhere in the middle. And so this is what I'll say about Sandy Hook. I legitimately questioned it when people brought up anomalies. I then had debates about it on both sides. The internet pushed me to keep covering it. I probably covered it 20 times in the first few years it happened. And then as soon as I questioned it, not being staged, I got attacked so much that I said, screw it, mass shootings happen. I believe it happened. But then media would call me or interview me and say, okay, but tell us the anomalies of why you questioned. They were getting me to say it again. Not that I didn't have the right to question it, but they thought, well, Alex Jones versus dead kids, Alex Jones denying it, Alex Jones harassing families. This is a perfect way to get this guy who's so popular and getting people to question and getting people to think. And so it took me years. I think I'm smart. I guess I'm not, to figure out what was going on.
Now, he said that and then turned around and thought, oh, COVID is a whole pandemic. Trump stole the election. So it's not like he feels bad about it and he stopped doing his show or anything like that. Like, when a normal person finds out that they have a disorder that's making them see the world in a way that is not true, because he acknowledges that Sandy Hook happened now. He acknowledges it and he feels bad. He even apologized to the parents. Wow. But because he did it and fucked up their lives so hard is the only reason he's getting in trouble for it. But we have a free press in this country. You can say whatever the hell you want. And he does. And he makes money off of it. And he doesn't care. It's shameless. So I don't care if because he said that people were doing it to him. Somebody thought he was Bill Hicks or something. And they were all mad at him because he was lying about it and he's fake too. And so he became on the receiving end of the conspiracy. And he's like, wow, these people, he calls them schizophrenic. He's like, there's just some people who believe conspiracies no matter what. And I'm like, that's you. You're one of those people. And they listen to you. So if it weren't for Alex Jones, it'd be somebody else. But still, I just really wish he would just go away and stop with this, because he is such a loud voice. Literally a fucking loud voice. I mean, the guy screams all the time. Ah!
Oh my God.
And he, like, you see the vein popping out of his freaking head, you know. It's okay to question the government and it's okay to question all these institutions, but he just is obviously trying to make money off of it, and that's what pisses me off. So there's my rant on Alex Jones. I get it. I understand Waco, whatever, but come on.
Right.
One false thing doesn't mean everything is fake. It just doesn't. Just because they played a trick on him to get him to come out doesn't mean that everything is fake.
Right. Yeah, it's completely and totally insane. And I don't have like a number as far as like how much he's had to pay out in lawsuits, but I'm assuming it's quite a lot, since he's really kind of destroyed quite a few he's messed with quite a few people's lives on a lot of this stuff that he does. If you think about it,
he's still...
Can you imagine being threatened like that from people? Like calling you up and threatening you over something horrible that happened to you?
No, it's what we've covered a bunch of times on this show. Eric Coomer and all these Matzi Benassi, all of them. It's just because they dox you. Like, as we've talked about, doxing is when you just put their information out there for people. And then these crazy people call them and harass them and death threat them. And like all kinds of election officials right now are having their lives threatened because of the 2020 conspiracies. And oh my gosh, it's just, stop it. Stop doxing them. They do it on purpose to make money, I think. The media does not release people's information like that.
No.
You know, they do not give you their address and phone number unless it's on a government. There's some FBI documents that have people's numbers and stuff, but I just think that is deplorable to do that, to give people's addresses. Like this guy has other kids. He has like 3 other kids that were older than this little boy. The story is just heartbreaking. It's terrible. And he was 6. The one guy who's famous, the Noah Ponzer or Posner. I always pronounce it wrong. Yeah, 3 older siblings. And I can't even imagine having to deal with your life with people with death threats.
Right.
And how scared your kids must have been, and how scared his spouse must have been, and how they literally have to move all the time. Because every time they move, somebody will call them up right away and be like, hey. And Alex Jones keeps blaming the media. Quit bringing this up. You're bringing it up, and then you're sending people off to, like, I don't even believe that it's fake. But you opened the door in the first place, and then you kept pushing the door open over and over. And man. He doesn't realize that he started it in the first place. Like, just don't say anything unless you're like 100% or very, I don't know. I know how they perceive the media as doing this, but I actually don't think he's had to pay out anything because it's still in...
Like the court.
It's still...
I know, it's still like... Because they started the lawsuits in like 2017. Here we are 6 years later, and it's still being held up within court with all the lawyers, because that's kind of how they do it.
Right.
So it just sucks. And the good thing that did happen, though, is that they did shut down like all of his social media. He got kicked off of all the platforms. I think he was kicked off Facebook. I'm not sure. I haven't looked to see if he still is, but Facebook, YouTube. There's a couple other.
YouTube is a big one because that's where you make money. So yes, he is off YouTube. I'm sure they'll be going on Trump's new social media platform.
Oh,
whatever
God.
That's going to be the new Parler.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know?
I remember that. Yeah, so
I think it's called the Truth Media or Truth Social Media or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, Alex Jones will keep going until he dies because we've talked about this before with a lot of these hoax and scams. They know that the amount of money they're going to make off of scamming people is more than they'll ever have to pay out, especially in the media.
Right.
Because you're only bound by like defamation or FAA, like if you swear or something like that. It's really hard to get demonetized, basically. Not on YouTube. YouTube is easy to get demonetized, but in other forums, it's hard to demonetize you because it's free press. Right. So he can just have his own website, just like all those people selling the miracle cures to COVID. They can all have their own websites. Now, the FDA can come in and shut those people down, but the FAA cannot come in and shut down free speech.
Right.
You just can't. So he's not getting in trouble for this because there is no regulator on this. So, like I said, he is selling that the whole COVID thing was a hoax.
Right. Yeah.
Now, he's still talking about how the 2020 election was stolen, and he just continues on with all these lies, and he always will. He will till he dies. Till he literally keels over one day, having a heart attack. And he's even said before, he thinks a lot of what he says is crap. He just won't say it on his own show. He says it on other shows that people know not to watch because it's not Alex Jones. It's fake. It's all Waco.
Right.
Fake. And he's the real one. Oh, God, he makes me so sick.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sorry. He just really bothers me. His wife hates him. His wife divorced him after this.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, are you serious with this? Like, all of his crew quit after the Sandy Hook. Bunch of his crew quit. His wife divorced him. They were already having trouble, but she was like, I can't do this anymore, you crazy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just done with you. I don't blame her at all.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. I mean, it's really deplorable. And I honestly, my heart goes out to all the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting because that is awful and terrible and painful. It's just like one of the most awfulest things that's happened in the U.S. that I've seen on TV. So
totally,
it's just really shitty that we have people like him out there stirring up lies and like putting people's personal information out there. I would never do something like that. Never. No. Who on earth would do that? Just evil people, or just people who are really, I don't know. I can't decide their motivation for these things. They're just money is the only motivator. And with him, a little bit of insanity too, but still. It's money driven because ultimately he could stop, but he doesn't. He chooses not to. Like, I just don't understand. If you're saying you have a disability or like a disorder and that you see the world now in a way that you only see everything as fake, everything looks set up and staged to you, you shouldn't have a fucking radio show. Right.
Then what are you doing? Here, look at my screwed up view of the world. Let's see if you agree. Let's all go to jail together. Good night. God.
And I mean, as we work on this show, you know, like I do try to look up as many different sources as we possibly can. I mean, obviously you could spend like a month doing that sort of fine-tooth comb research for each story that we do here. But I think it's important that we get what we can find as the truth as much as we can out of each of these stories to put out there because it's so important for research, you know?
He was doing such blatantly, like, let me give you an example. So with this particular Sandy Hook thing, he kept saying that the school itself had been closed for years. It looked dilapidated. It looked like that it was all staged because the school itself, it was a stage, like a fake school. Wow. And they're like, it's so easy to prove that wrong. You can go to like 1,000 websites and see that there's activities going on there and events going on there and websites. And it's almost like the Birther Kenya thing. Like, really, you really think that they staged this whole thing over 40 years? Somebody back in Hawaii back then just decided, well, this guy's going to be president, and did everything from there on just to conspire so that he could become president. Same thing with this. What were they, like, the whole time they were creating these websites and talking about the school on the news just so that they could have a fake shooting so that you didn't get to have your guns anymore? And that's what it really comes down to, too. Is that they don't want their freedoms, they say their freedoms taken away. And that these false flag operations like David Hogg and the Parkland shooting, those, he says, oh, I think Parkland happened too. Well, then what are you doing? He says they hire these crisis actors to come in and make it seem worse than it is so that then the people in Congress can take away our guns, you know?
Right.
Because these shootings are staged by anti-gun people. Like, no, we're not as insane as you. We don't do that.
Right.
and I'm not an anti-gun person even. And I still think we have a problem here that we need to solve.
Right.
But it's certainly not through staging it so that we can, have a national outcry. Let's pretend like we killed 26 children. That's disgusting.
Right? Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's just totally...
Rant's over. Rant's over. I could rant all day about this guy just like he rants. I don't want to have an aneurysm over him.
Yeah.
So, well, that was a great one.
Yeah. Another sad, tragic story of lies and deceit on our show here today. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll probably talk about Alex Jones again. I know we will, because we have a couple other conspiracies still going on. Tired of talking about COVID and election.
Right.
So
I know. Yeah, it's just crazy.
We'll wait for the new conspiracy,
That's right.
I guess.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to Real Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. We look forward to having you on our next one.